Let me tell you about the night everything unraveled. It was 3:47 in the morning. That strange hour when the city finally exhales, when even Manhattan goes quiet enough to hear your own heartbeat. 4 phones lit up across 4 different boroughs. 4 women, strangers to their neighbors, but bound to each other by something darker than blood, all staring at the same 3 words. I am back. The sender was a girl we'd buried 20 years ago. Not literally. I need you to understand that distinction because it matters. We didn't put her in the ground with our own hands. But we might as well have. I'm going to tell you everything now. The parts we swore we'd take to our graves. Because here's the thing about secrets, friend, they have a way of crawling back out of the earth. And sometimes they bring their phones. My name is Rachel Brennan. And for 20 years I've been building a fortress. 2 deadbolts on my apartment door in the Upper West Side. Cameras in every corner that I check. I'll admit this, probably a dozen times before bed. My doorman Roberto knows to call up for anyone, even the delivery guy from the Thai place on Amsterdam Avenue I've ordered from for 6 years. My therapist says I'm trying to keep something out. She's wrong. I'm trying to keep something in. There were 4 of us back then. 4 girls who thought cruelty was entertainment. Chen became a lawyer. Victoria, technically, but nobody calls her that anymore. She's one of those Manhattan types with the corner office at a firm on 6th Avenue and the designer suits and the marriage that looks perfect in Christmas cards. She bills her time in 6-minute increments. And I don't think she's let herself feel a genuine emotion since 1997. Efficiency, she calls it. I call it survival with better tailoring. Claire O'Brien went the opposite direction. Found God somewhere between the guilt and the grief. Lives in a modest place in Astoria now. Lights candles at St. Demetrios every Sunday for the dead. She thinks prayer will save her soul. Hope she's right. For all our sakes. And then there's Megan. Megan Russo became a writer. True crime specifically. The kind of books that sit on airport shelves with embossed titles and taglines like, based on a true story. She built an entire career turning other people's worst moments into page-turners. Funny thing about Megan. She always said she was drawn to dark stories because she wanted to understand evil. But I wonder sometimes late at night when the city goes quiet, if she just liked being close to it. The night the message came, I was standing barefoot in my kitchen, the Manhattan skyline glittering through the window like a promise of safety. My phone buzzed against the marble counter. I am back. From a number I'd checked every single year for 2 decades. Just to make sure it was still dead. 3 dots appeared at the bottom of the screen. She was typing. And my fortress didn't feel so solid anymore. Did you think I would stay quiet forever? I want to describe what fear tastes like. Because I tasted it then, standing in my kitchen at nearly 4 in the morning. It's metallic. Like you've bitten your tongue without realizing. Like blood is pooling somewhere you can't see. My phone exploded with notifications. The group chat we barely used. Birthdays and superficial holiday greetings. Suddenly alive. Claire. Please tell me you got it too. Vicky. Don't respond. Don't engage. It's clearly a hoax. Someone found old records. Megan. We need to meet. Tonight. All of us. This is happening. Always so eager, Megan. I remember thinking that even through the panic. Already she was leaning into this like a story. Already I could hear the chapter outlines forming in her head. But none of us typed what we were really thinking. How does a dead girl send a WhatsApp message at 3:47 in the morning? Let me take you back. To where it started. To who we were before we became whoever we are now. November 1997. Hartwick College. Upstate New York. The fog that month was something special. I've lived in this city for 2 decades, seen every kind of weather, but I've never experienced anything like that fog. It didn't drift, it settled. Dense and wet, smelling of pine and wood smoke and something else underneath. Something older. We were 19. Sophomores who thought we understood the world because we'd survived freshman year. Young enough to believe consequences were for other people. Emma Hartley arrived that semester on a scholarship from some small town in Pennsylvania. Quiet girl. kept to herself, wore the same rotation of sweaters, all thrift store you could tell, and spent her evenings in the library instead of at parties. She was easy to dismiss. And when you're 19 and bored and a little bit cruel, though you'd never admit it, dismissing someone is just the first step. "Let's mess with her," Megan said one night, holding up a Ouija board she'd bought from some occult shop in the village during fall break. Nothing serious, just enough to scare her. Claire would hide in the closet, pull the planchette with fishing line. Vicky would ask leading questions. I'd record the whole thing on my camcorder. It was a prank. That's what we told ourselves. But here's what I understand now, after 20 years of therapy and sleepless nights. When you target the vulnerable, when you single out someone specifically because they're alone and easy to hurt, that's not a prank. That's hunting. The séance started exactly as planned. Candles flickering, incense curling through the air. The common room of Whitmore Hall transformed into something theatrical and false. When Emma walked in, she looked like a deer who'd heard a twig snap. Shoulders hunched, eyes darting, like she already knew something terrible was coming. I should have felt guilt. Instead, I felt a thrill. That'll make the footage better, I thought. I hate the girl I was. Claire's fishing line worked beautifully. The planchette slid across the board, spelling out nonsense we pretended was profound. Emma's knuckles went white where she gripped her knees. Then Vicky asked, "Spirit, do you have a message for Emma?" Coin moved. K. I. L. L. We looked at Claire through the closet slats. She was shaking her head frantically. The fishing line hung slack in her hands. The coin kept sliding. H. E. R. S. E. L. F. Kill herself. Who's doing that? Megan whispered. For the first time, she didn't sound like she was enjoying herself. And then the candles, all 6 of them, bent sideways. Not flickered. Bent. Toward Emma. Like something was breathing from inside her. When she spoke, it wasn't her voice. It was static. Rust. Something dredged up from cold water. "You think this is a game?" Her eyes rolled back, showing the whites. And somehow, impossibly, she looked directly at me. "I know what you did to your sister, Rachel. I know what all of you did." The window behind her exploded outward. And in the chaos, glass falling like rain, that horrible voice still echoing, Emma ran. Back to 2017. We met at a wine bar in Tribeca. The kind of place where everyone's too wrapped up in their own expensive problems to notice 4 women speaking in panicked whispers. "It's a hacker," Vicky said, her courtroom composure firmly in place. "Someone discovered what happened and is attempting to extort us. A hacker who knows about my twin sister." I asked. "She drowned when we were 7, Rachel. In our backyard pool in Westchester. I've never told anyone. Not even my therapist knows the details." Megan's face went gray. "My laptop was accessed remotely yesterday. All my files. All my research." She swallowed. "Including the book I've been writing. About us. About that night." Claire started crying softly, her rosary beads clicking in her trembling hands. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was looking at my phone. A new photo had arrived. A dormitory hallway. Whitmore Hall. I'd recognize those walls anywhere, even with the new exit signs from the renovation. And at the far end of the corridor, barely visible in the shadows, a figure wearing a sweater I remembered all too well. The caption, "I'm coming home soon. Are you ready?" What followed was 3 days of carefully orchestrated terror. Vicky's elevator got stuck between floors at her midtown firm on 6th Avenue. 6 hours in the dark. When the maintenance crew finally pried the doors open, they found scratched into the metal walls over and over, "Liar, liar, liar." No one could explain how it got there. The scratches weren't there before she entered. Claire's Uber malfunctioned. The driver insisted he was following the GPS, but instead of JFK, she ended up at Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx, standing in front of a headstone that read Emma Hartley, 1978 to 1997. Except here's the thing, When we pulled the burial records, there was no body. The plot was purchased by some anonymous trust. The headstone erected. But the casket beneath the earth. Empty. I started seeing her. Just glimpses at first. A figure at the end of my hallway when I came home at night. A face in the window of the one train as it pulled away from 72nd Street. A woman in a worn sweater standing across Broadway near Zabbers. Not moving, just watching. My psychiatrist on the Upper East Side doubled my medication. Stress, she said. Guilt manifesting as visual hallucinations. But guilt doesn't install apps on your phone while you sleep. I woke on the fourth day to find a new icon on my home screen. A purple circle with the word spirit. I hadn't downloaded it. My phone had been in my hands all night. Inside was a single chat window. One message waiting. Ask me anything. I'll tell you the truth. Unlike you. My fingers trembled as I typed. Are you Emma? The three dots pulsed for what felt like forever. I'm what's left of her. I'm what you made. But let me tell you what really happened that night in 1997. The part we swore we'd never speak aloud. After Emma ran, we followed. Not to help, to silence. We couldn't let her tell anyone about the prank, about the fishing line, about how we'd humiliated her. The fog was impossibly thick. We could hear her crashing through the pine forest behind the dormitory, but we couldn't see more than an arm's length ahead. We found her sweater first, snagged on a branch like a shed skin. Then her shoe. Then nothing. Search parties combed those woods for weeks. State troopers, UGs, divers dragged the lake. They traced her scent to a cliff overlooking a ravine and lost it. No body was ever found. Runaway, the college concluded. Emma had no family to push for answers. No one to demand the truth. She simply vanished. And we made a pact, the four of us, standing in the cold November dawn. Never speak of it. Never write it down. Never tell a soul. For 20 years we kept that promise. Then Megan broke it. The confrontation happened at Megan's apartment in Park Slope. Vicky had done her homework, because that's what lawyers do when they're scared. Bank records showed payments to a cybersecurity consulting firm in Jersey City. Emails traced back 5 years to someone with the initials EH. Emma Hartley. You've been talking to her, Vicky said, her voice carved from ice. This whole time. You've known she was alive. Megan didn't bother denying it. She survived that night, Megan said, collapsing onto her couch like a puppet whose strings had been cut. A trucker found her on Route 28, half frozen, barely conscious. Drove her to a hospital in Kingston. By the time she recovered, she'd already been declared a runaway. Nobody was looking for a dead girl who was very much alive. And you knew. Claire's voice cracked, her queen's accent thickening with emotion. You let us think, all these years. She contacted me 3 years ago. Found my author website. Recognized my name. Megan laughed bitterly. She wanted to tell her story. I thought I could manage it. Control the narrative. Make it work for everyone. Make it content, I spat. She's not a ghost. Megan screamed. She's a woman we destroyed who spent 20 years becoming someone who could destroy us back. The hacking, the surveillance, the psychological warfare. She works for a cybersecurity firm in Silicon Alley now. Top of her field. She's had access to everything. Our emails, our medical records, our deepest secrets. Deep silence. Then Vicky, cold as ever. If you've been managing her for 3 years, why is she doing this now? Megan's face crumbled. Because I got greedy. I thought the book needed something bigger. A twist that would make it unforgettable. She looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. Real fear. So I told her the truth. The part even we don't talk about. The real reason we let her go that night. My blood went cold. I told her about the other girl. Claire made a sound like a wounded animal. I told her about Jessica Reeves, about what happened at the cliff, about who really fell. I'm recording this from a hotel room somewhere in Midtown. The Marriott Marquis, if you need to find what's left of me. The curtains are drawn. My phone is off, not that it matters anymore. She's already inside everything. Here's what we never told anyone. What we barely admitted to ourselves. That night in the fog, we weren't just chasing Emma. A freshman named Jessica Reeves had heard the commotion and followed us into the woods. Curious. Innocent. Just a kid from Buffalo in the wrong place at the worst possible moment. We didn't see her until we heard the scream. Until we reached the cliff's edge and looked down. We told ourselves it was an accident. That we weren't responsible. That the fog was too thick, the ground too slippery, the night too dark. We told ourselves a lot of things. Last night at 3:47 a.m., my phone lit up one final time. Group chat. 2 contacts. Emma Hartley. Jessica Reeves. The message read, 20 years you let us rot in silence. Now it's your turn. How does it feel to be buried alive? Here's what I've learned, friend. Some secrets don't stay buried. Some secrets learn to type.